Hey guys, welcome back to Welding with Mr. Sapanek. Today's lesson is going to be 60-13 padding in the flat position. What we're going to do today is a demonstration on this plate right here, showing you guys how to properly overlap these welds. First thing we're going to have is our 60-13 electrode. So if you can see on the camera right here, 60-13. So we need to make sure we gather those. Our wire brush, our chipping hammer, and we need to make sure that our machine is set to the correct amperage. So since I'm using 1/4-inch plate, I'm going to be setting on 115 amps. We're welding on direct current electrode positive, and we're going to go ahead and get started here. When I get ready to perform my first weld, I want to hold this weld about 1/8 of an inch in from the edge of the material, and why I'm going to do that is because there's nothing out here for the weld to grasp. There's nothing for it to hold on to. So if I put it all the way out here on the edge, what I'm going to do is I'm going to burn up this edge right here. So when I burn up the edge, it's going to remove all that material and it's going to look bad. So if I bring this in about 1/8 of an inch and hold it there, then that overlap will go right to the edge of that particular weld, and it should end up with a nice weld there. Okay, so first thing we're going to do, put our electrode into our electrode holder, and then it's going to be a little bright, so you're probably not going to be able to see the light, but we'll show you what it looks like after the weld is performed. It should take about 20 or so seconds to get from here to here. Remember, we want to have our 10 to 15 degree travel angle and our 90-degree work angle. We're going to have our arc length 1/8 of an inch away from the material, and we're going to try and maintain that all the way down the plate. Okay, here we go. Now, once you extinguish your arc there, let that cherry red puddle cool down there for a few seconds. Now we're going to take our chipping hammer here, and we're going to go right on the edge of this weld. We're not going to tap it from the top, but if we just tap it right on the edge of this weld, eventually that's going to come off nice and easy, and we're not going to have a bunch of marks on the top of our weld. So after we get done with our wire brush, remember, welding might be dirty, but it's a very clean process. So we're gonna chip it, and then we're gonna take our wire brush, and we're gonna get a nice brush on this, as good as we can get it. Okay, now this will be weld number 1 here. Okay, notice how we're on the edge of the weld. Now the second weld, we're gonna go through here, and we're going to fire this weld up right about here, okay? Right where that toe of the weld is, we're going to run that weld right down there, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to overlap about halfway onto this weld right here, okay? You don't want it to weld next to it. You want it to overlap and take away partial portion of that weld. Now, if you look right here, we still have a piece of slag trapped. You got to make sure that when you're cleaning these, that you get all of that material, or all of that slag off there. Remember, flux on your rod is good, slag on your weld is bad. Okay, so then we're going to set our camera back up here. Okay. Now we're going to lay our second bead down right over top of it. Okay, here we go. Okay, once we get to our end, let that bead cool down a little bit for a second. This is what it's going to look like before we chip any of our slag off. Let it cool, and then we're going to chip it off again. Now if we take a closer look here, you can see how this weld has overtaken about 1/2 to 3/4 of that previous weld right here. Okay, that's what you want. So now the next pass, we're going to do the same thing. It's just a lot of repetition right now. We're going to take that rod, we're going to fire it up right here again, all the way down. The purpose of this surfacing weld is to take this material and make it thicker. One of the reasons you want to make something thicker, an example would be using something that has worn out. So what you're trying to do is you're taking that worn out piece of material, you are welding it back up to thicken it back to its original thickness. Okay, so we're going to lay another bead here. Here we go. Let the puddle cool down a little bit. We'll get our chipping hammer out. Same thing again. Brush. And then what you want to do is you're going to repeat this process all the way down here to the end of your plate. Once you reach the end of your plate, then we're going to flip it over, do the same thing on the back, and we're going to be taking this 1/4 inch thick piece of material, we're going to make it to a thickness of 5/8 of an inch. So the more welding you do on it, the thicker that's going to get, and then we're going to reach that 5/8 outcome. Okay?